Now let's talk about package, process, and jobs. Earlier we mentioned that a package is an uploaded workflow, and you can upload the workflow from the UiPath Studio, or you can directly upload a file in Orchestrator. And a process is a package assigned to an environment, so it's a combination of a package and an environment. And you can access the process by going to the default folder and go to Automations and click Processes. And once we execute a process, the process becomes a job, and jobs are available next to processes. And when we execute the job, we can either run it immediately or we can schedule it to run at certain times. And now we are going to learn how to upload a package from the UiPath Studio and how to create a process and execute it into a job. Now I'm going to show you how to upload a workflow from UiPath Studio to Orchestrator. And once we upload the workflow will become a package in Orchestrator. And then I will show you how to assign this package to an environment to make a process, and also how to execute a process to generate a job. To start with, let's first create a very simple workflow in UiPath Studio. And in this workflow, we are going to open Notepad and type a sentence on this Notepad. So let's first go to UiPath Studio and create a process. And you can name the process in any way you want. And I'm going to use the name Notepad. Let's first use an open application activity. Meanwhile, let's open Notepad and indicate this Notepad so that the bot can open it. And then let's use a type into activity. And let's type, we are learning Orchestrator. Now save the bot, close the Notepad, and let's click the Publish button. Now, as you can see, we're publishing this workflow to Orchestrator. And in the release notes, you can put any descriptive sentences about this package. So here, I will just use for testing. And in the version section, we can see how many versions of the workflow are there in the Orchestrator. And since this is the first time that we upload this workflow, the version is 0.1. But imagine later, if we upload again this workflow to Orchestrator, the version will become 0.2. So here, let's leave every other thing as it is, and then let's click Publish. And now we can see that the project has been published successfully. And let's click OK. And now we can close UiPath Studio. Okay, now let's come back to the Orchestrator. So as we mentioned earlier, once we upload a workflow to Orchestrator, the workflow will become a package. So to see that, let's go to the Tenant and in the Packages section. As you can see, the Notepad workflow that we just uploaded is here, and we can see that it was uploaded a few seconds ago. Now that we created this package, the next step is to assign this package to an environment. To do that, let's go to the default folder and go to the Automations and make sure that we are in the Processes section. As we mentioned earlier, to create a process, we are actually assigning a package to an environment. Now, let's use the Add button. Here, we can choose a package from the drop-down list. Here, let's choose the Notepad that we just uploaded. In the display name, we can use any name that can describe this process. So here, I will just use the name Notepad Process. If you have multiple versions, you can choose the version that you want. But here, since we only have one version, we can just leave the version as 0.1. And in the environment, we can choose which environment we want to assign this package to, and let's choose environment 1. And we can leave other settings as they are. And now let's create. Now we can see that we have a new process named Notepad Process. So the next step is to execute the process so that we will have a job. There are 3 ways to execute a process. The first approach is that we click the Start a Job button in the Processes section. The second approach is to go to the Jobs section and create a new job. The third approach is to go to the Triggers section and create a schedule to run the bot. Now you may ask, what's the difference between these methods? So when you start the job from the Processes section or go to the Jobs section, we are executing the bot immediately. However, if you go to the Triggers, you can set a schedule for the bot to run at certain times, for example, every 5 minutes or every hour or every midnight. I will show you how to execute the bot using every way that I mentioned here. So let's first use the Start a Job button from the Processes section. So let's click on this Start a Job. And here you can see that the Start button is not clickable. And this is because when we created the robots in the earlier video, we set the type of the robot as Studio. Now we need to change the type into Unattended so that we will have an option here to execute the job. To do that, let's go to the robots and use the edit, and let's change the type into Unattended. And you can use the default settings, and let's update. Now let's go back to the automations and processes and click the Start a Job again. And now we can see that the robot is available here. So we can choose all the robots available and click Start. Soon you will see that our Notepad automation is executed. Now we can close this. So I just showed you how to execute the process from the Processes section. And now let's go to the Job section. And we can click the Start button. And in the process name, let's choose Notepad process. And also let's choose the robot that is available and click Start. Similarly, we just executed the bot immediately. And let's close this. As you can see, when we start the process from the Processes section or from the Job section, we are executing the bot immediately. But what if we want to schedule the bot to run at certain times? Then we need to use the triggers. So let's go to the triggers, and then let's create a new trigger. And then we can create a name for this trigger. So here, let's say Notepad trigger. Let's also choose the Notepad process as the process that we are going to execute. And here, you can leave all the default settings for time. So once we add this trigger, the bot will be executed every 1 minute. And let's click Add. And later, you will see that the bot will be executed. And let's close the Notepad. And because we set the bot to run every 1 minute, soon you will see that the bot will be executed again. And you can use the refresh button to see the next runtime. So here we know that just in a few seconds, the bot will be executed. Okay, great. Now we can disable this trigger by going to the Actions and Disable. To summarize, in this video, I showed you how to upload a workflow from UiPath Studio to Orchestrator, and then how to assign this package to an environment in creating a process, and how to execute the process using 3 ways.